Hello everyone. Today I'd like to show you a replica of PlayComp, a personal version of Intellivision PlayCable that was constructed by Joe Jacobs and Dennis Clark back in 1982. The history of PlayComp is rather convoluted. In the beginning was PlayCable, the first online gaming service. A computer at your local cable company broadcast 20 games to subscribers. They could download and play these games using an adapter that plugged into their Intellivision master component. Whilst putting PlayCable together, the engineers at Jerrold who were developing it realized you could capture the cable signal on an audio cassette. Then it was possible to remove the computer broadcasting the games and the cable company from the picture altogether. This way they could back up the entire library of Intellivision games and play whichever game they wanted, whenever they wanted, without paying a subscription. And so PlayTape was born. Needless to say, it was quite popular amongst the PlayCable developers. Next, Joe and Dennis extended the PlayCable adapter by connecting it to personal computers that they had at home. By doing this, they constructed a pretty handy Intellivision development system, which they then used to write Intellivision Bump and Jump for Mattel. And that brings us full circle to PlayComp. It's a PlayCable variant that sends games from Joe and Dennis's personal computers to their PlayCable-based development kits. It's probably the rarest, most expensive, and best version of PlayCable. So let's see PlayComp in operation. Top left, I have a window showing a PDP-11 terminal. We're going to use this to run the software that Joe and Dennis used to broadcast games to their development kit. Bottom right, we have the Intellivision screen that will receive the games and play them. At the moment, you can see it's showing the word Cyber. That's Dennis and Joe's debugger, and it's running on the Intellivision waiting for an instruction. Normally, when developing a game, Joe or Dennis would manually key instructions into Cyber. However, we're going to use the broadcast software running on the PDP-11 to control it. Okay, let's run the program PlayComp on the PDP-11. It's our personal PlayCable server. We can see it reporting progress in the terminal window. At the moment, it's sitting listening for Cyber. When we hit reset on the Intellivision console, things will start happening. What happened there was that as the console restarted, Cyber sent a command prompt to the terminal, which PlayComp received. PlayComp then instructed Cyber to write the loading catalog message to the screen and started to send it the menu program. Cyber received this and loaded the menu into memory, which is what all the annoying binging was about. Once all the code was sent, PlayComp instructed Cyber to continue booting the console, and this started the game menu running. Pretty slick. This menu is probably based on an early version of the actual PlayCable menu, and it might look a bit like the one used on the official service, but we can't really be sure. We can step through several pages of games and choose one to play using the Intellivision keypad. When we press enter on the keypad, the menu program will send the name of the required game to PlayComp. You'll see it appear in the PDP-11 terminal window. It'll then reset the Intellivision again. This will place Cyber back in control of the console, and it'll send its command prompt down the line. At the other end, PlayComp is listening and takes this as a cue to load the game from disk and send it back to Cyber over the serial link. Cyber will then load it into memory. Once this is all done, PlayComp tells Cyber to continue booting the Intellivision, which starts the game. It's all pretty seamless, so let's see it in action. So there we have it. We're good to start a game of baseball. One really nice feature is that because communication is two-way, PlayComp can be a bit clever. As we saw, whenever the Intellivision is reset, Cyber sends its command prompt through to PlayComp, and it uses this as a signal to wake up and do something. But PlayComp also monitors the time between resets and uses this to change its behaviour. If the time between resets is more than 10 seconds, PlayComp assumes that the player has finished a game and wants to play again. Therefore, it just tells Cyber to restart the game, like this. This is way better than the original PlayCable, where the menu would load every time the console was reset, forcing you to choose the game you wanted to play again and again. When we use PlayComp, it interprets pressing reset twice quickly as a request to play another game, and so it sends the menu instead. Did you notice how quickly the menu loaded this time? Well, that's because PlayComp knows how big the last game it sent was. The menu program is actually split into two. There's a little header located at the bottom of RAM, but the bulk of it is loaded further up in memory. If the last game we played was only 4K in size, PlayComp knows it will only have overwritten the little header. The rest of the menu will still be sat there intact. So in this case, it'll only send the header again, making the menu load much quicker. Let's see that again. So we'll load a game. In this case, let's go for football. As you can see, a 4K game takes about 8 seconds or so to load. And we can go and start playing. If we get to the end of the game and we want to play another game of football, then all we have to do is to press reset, because the period between resets will be greater than 10 seconds. However, if what we want to do is to play a different game, then what we need to do is to press reset twice within 3 seconds or so. So let's try that. And as we can see, because the game is small, the menu loaded very quickly. Let's try loading a larger game. For example, on the last page here we have music. You'll notice that 5 of the bars at the top of the screen turn white. This indicates that music is bigger than 4K in size, and therefore part of the menu program will have been overwritten. If we wait a moment and then do a slow reset, we will find that, like baseball and football, music will restart as it did before. However, if we do the fast double reset, indicating that we want to play another game, we'll find that the full menu has to be reloaded. As you can see, that's a rather longer process than before. These quality of life improvements over the original PlayCable are possible because PlayComp has two-way communication between the server and the adapter. So let's take a look at this replica and explain how it works and how it differs from the original. Unsurprisingly, I don't have either one of Dennis and Joe's development kits or indeed a PDP-11. Instead of a real PDP-11, I'm using the SimH PDP-11 emulator that's running on my laptop. And in place of Dennis and Joe's development kit, I have one of my Teensy Intellivision cartridges. This one is connected to my laptop using a serial to USB adapter. The Teensy microcontroller mimics the debugger firmware, 8K of RAM, and serial port that's found in the PlayCable development kit. Essentially, it's a PlayCable on a cartridge. Because I'm using standard parts to do the actual communication between the Intellivision and the PDP-11, I think the data is being sent to Cyber slightly slower than it was for Joe and Dennis. We're transferring about 500 decals a second instead of the 700 or so that their non-standard PlayCable development kit managed. However, this is still about twice as fast as the PlayTape audio variant ran, and there isn't any waiting around to find the start of your game in the stream that you got with the official PlayCable service itself. So unfortunately, in terms of the demo hardware, only the Intellivision master component is really authentic. However, things are rather different on the software side. The Cyber debugger that's baked into the cartridge, the PlayComp PDP-11 program that it talks to, the menu program that gets streamed in, and all the games are totally authentic. If we do a directory listing on the PDP-11, we can see PlayComp, the directory program dirhome, and a file for each and every game. So the software being demonstrated is totally period, and the behaviour of the system should be pretty much as it was. PlayComp really was the best of all worlds, the fastest, most usable Intellivision game download system with the widest selection of titles. Although their library of dumped games only ran to 40 titles, Joe and Dennis could theoretically have played any of the 75 or so compatible games, including many third-party titles. This compares with the choice of 15 or 20 games each month from a library of about 40 Mattel-only titles that the official PlayCable service offered. The only downer with PlayComp was the need to have several years of specialist knowledge to build it in the first place, and access to a pretty expensive personal computer to act as the server. So there we go. A nice little replica of the Technology Associates PlayComp, the rarest and best version of PlayCable, running on a real Intellivision 40 years after it was developed. I'd like to thank Joe and Dennis for sharing their software and experience with me so that I can then show it to you. In the meantime, let me know what you think, and until the next one, cheers.